Psychopath is a word that typically evokes images of cold-blooded murderers, serial killers. Psychopathy is often misconceived as a term to describe someone who's not in their right mind or who invariably commits malicious acts of violence. In actuality, psychopathy is a personality trait dimension that exists along a spectrum, just like any other trait dimension like agreeableness or introversion. Psychopathy is one of the greatest risk factors for violent behavior, and yet 1 to 2% of the general population can be classified as a psychopath. And yet they are able to refrain from engaging in overt acts of aggression or criminal activity. And some even go on to lead productive lives. These individuals are known as successful psychopaths. My colleagues and I at Virginia Commonwealth University decided to examine the development of successful psychopathy over time and to look at the potential underlying neural and trait mechanisms of this phenotype. And for this, we thought about conscientiousness, which describes people who are hardworking, responsible, and who have pretty good impulse control. But then we also had to think about what traits psychopaths have that may contribute to their success. And for this, we thought about their manipulative tendencies. Would also apply to people from the general population, that is, those with no known involvement in the justice system. And so we looked at a large sample of community members across the age spectrum. And we found that those same callous and manipulative traits were associated with low conscientiousness at younger ages, but as age increased, that association became weaker. Until for people in their mid-30s and over, there was no association between those two at all. Callous and manipulative psychopathy traits were associated with an increase in neural density in an area of the brain called the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex. This particular brain area is highly involved in self-regulation and the ability to control one's impulses. These are key traits of conscientiousness. This neural increase was also increased with lower likelihood of engaging in physical violence. So although we don't know what exactly caused the increase in neural density for these individuals, we could not overlook the fact that this was not an objectively successful population. So we wanted to find out if our results would apply to people from the general population as well, that is, those who had no previous involvement with the justice system. And so we looked at a large sample of community members across the age spectrum. We found that these same callous and manipulative psychopathy traits were associated with low conscientiousness, but only at younger ages. Overall, our research demonstrates that there's more to psychopathy than deficiencies. And I hope, above all else, that this research and similar research will help to dispel some of the common myths and misconceptions surrounding psychopathy, as it's clear that not all psychopaths are depraved murderers or destined to live a life of crime. Moreover, it can actually help intervention and rehabilitation efforts to focus on channeling these potential strengths of these individuals in addition to supplementing their deficiencies. If we can implement changes such as these, maybe children who display early signs of psychopathic traits won't grow up to be Hannibal Lecter or live their lives frequenting the prison system, but instead grow up to be productive members of society.